All right, so today we're going to be doing a deep dive into headhunting, and I think this is going to be super valuable for anyone out there looking to build a really high-performing sales team.
Absolutely.
And for this deep dive, we're going to be looking at an article called The Power of Headhunting in Sales from a company called the Sales Experts Ltd.
Okay.
And they're a UK-based sales recruitment firm.
Interesting.
So they obviously know what they're talking about.
Yeah, sounds like it.
So I guess the best way to kick this off would be to ask you.
Okay.
Imagine you're building a sales team right now, and you need a top-performing salesperson.
Uh-huh.
Would you rather go through hundreds of resumes from people who are actively looking for jobs?
Okay.
Or would you try to poach someone who's already doing amazingly well in another company?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question.
Right?
I think I know what you're getting at here, but
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear more.
Yeah, so that's kind of what this article jumps into.
Okay.
Like right out of the gate.
Okay.
They're basically saying that the best salespeople, the top 10%, let's say, are not the people who are actively looking for work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're these passive candidates who are so busy killing it in their current roles that they're not on job boards or sending out resumes.
So it don't have to be.
They don't have to be, right?
Yeah, they're happy where they are, and they're probably getting promoted, and they're probably getting paid more, and,
Exactly.
they're just busy succeeding.
They're just too busy for all that.
Yeah.
So then that kind of brings us to the question of,
Yeah.
what's wrong with traditional recruitment?
Okay.
Like just relying on those job boards and those applications.
Right. Well, I mean, I've done a lot of hiring in my career. And what I've noticed is that when you're just relying on people to apply for jobs, you're often limited to a pool of candidates who might be unemployed or, like we were saying, maybe they're not happy in their current role.
Right.
Maybe they're not hitting their targets or
Yeah.
there's some kind of cultural mismatch.
Right.
Now, obviously, there are always exceptions.
Well, of course.
But I think generally you're just limiting your...
Yeah, your pool of superstars is much smaller.
Exactly.
So then the question is, if you want to tap into that pool of hidden talent, how do you do it?
Right.
And that's where headhunting comes in.
Okay. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, so this is what I found so interesting about the article. Headhunting is basically about being proactive.
Okay.
It's about identifying people who are high-performing professionals.
Right.
Who are already employed and successful.
Gotcha.
And then reaching out to them directly.
So instead of just hoping they stumble across your job ad, you're going out and finding them.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah. So the Sales Experts Ltd. Article actually highlights a case study where this tech company was really struggling to fill a senior sales role. And they'd gone through, I don't know how many rounds of interviews with people who had actively applied.
Yeah.
And they just weren't finding the right fit. So they finally decided to try headhunting. And they ended up going after someone who was a top performer at a competitor.
Oh, wow. So they went straight for the person who was already doing exactly what they needed.
Exactly.
That's bold.
It is bold.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it was a really big success for them.
Interesting.
This person not only exceeded their sales targets, but they also brought in a lot of insights and strategies from their previous experience.
I bet the company was kicking themselves that they hadn't done this sooner.
Right. Well, that's a good point because headhunting is a bigger investment up front.
Okay.
But I think that this case study really shows that it can pay off in the long run.
Yeah. By reducing that risk of a bad hire.
Because bad hires are expensive.
Oh, they are so expensive. And this article actually cites research that suggests the cost of a bad sales hire can be over 200% of their annual salary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you're talking about, lost productivity,
Yeah.
missed opportunities, and all the time and resources it takes to find a replacement.
Oh, absolutely.
So headhunting is almost like an insurance policy
That's a good way to put it.
against that.
Yeah, I like that.
And what I really liked about the Sales Experts Ltd. Is that they really emphasize the fact that they're not just matching resumes to job descriptions.
Yeah.
Like they're taking this much more personalized approach.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so they're looking beyond just the surface level stuff.
Uh-huh.
And they're trying to understand each candidate's, career motivations, their personality, their cultural fit.
So it's not just can they sell?
Right.
It's are they the right fit for this company, for this team?
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it's really about minimizing that risk on all fronts.
Yeah.
And making sure it's a good fit, not just for the role, but for the team as a whole.
I mean, that's got to be a pretty compelling argument for headhunting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so.
It really flips the script on how we think about finding top talent.
Okay, so before we move on to the next part, let me just ask you this.
Sure.
If this works so well for sales,
Yeah.
could it be a viable strategy for other roles within a company as well?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll dive into in much more detail in part 2. But for now, I want you to think about what other positions in your company might benefit from this more proactive approach to finding the best people.
Okay, so we were just talking about that tech company that used headhunting
Right.
to find their senior sales executive.
Uh-huh.
And it got me thinking, if it works so well for sales, could we use this for other roles in the company as well?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's a question that I get a lot, actually.
Okay.
People think that headhunting is just for sales roles.
Right.
But if you really think about the core principles of it,
Yeah.
which is, identifying those passive candidates, the people who are already out there excelling in their field,
Right.
it can really be applied to other areas as well.
I'm already thinking of so many possibilities.
Oh, no, me too.
So let's say, for example, we're trying to fill a software engineering position.
Okay.
What would that look like if we used headhunting?
Well, instead of just, throwing that job posting up on all the tech job boards,
Right.
you could start by identifying engineers at other companies
Okay.
whose work you really admire.
Okay, so looking at projects
Yeah.
that have really impressed us.
Exactly. And then kind of working backwards and figuring out who are the people.
Right, who are the masterminds behind it?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And then you would reach out to them directly.
Okay.
Now, obviously, headhunting for a software engineer is going to look a little bit different
Yeah, of course.
than headhunting for a sales role.
Right.
You need to really understand what motivates engineers.
Right, what are their interests?
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe they're really drawn to working on complex projects.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're looking for a company culture that really values learning and development.
So it's still about tailoring your pitch to the individual.
Yes, exactly. Just like in sales.
Okay.
You need to showcase what makes your company unique and appealing to someone who's already successful and satisfied in their current role.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I do think that some companies might be hesitant to reach out to someone directly
Yeah.
who's working for another company.
I can see that.
It feels a little,
Aggressive.
a little taboo.
I understand that hesitation, but I think it's all about approach.
Okay.
If it's done thoughtfully and respectfully,
Yeah.
it can be a really powerful way to connect with top talent.
Right.
You're not trying to forcefully poach them.
Yeah.
You're just inviting them to explore an opportunity.
Okay, I'm sold.
Good.
Now, how do we actually find these hidden gems?
Okay.
Is there some secret formula?
I wish there was a secret formula.
Right.
But it really starts with research.
Okay.
Look at what your competitors are doing.
Okay.
What projects are they working on? Who are the standout performers in your industry?
Okay.
And don't underestimate the power of networking.
Right.
Go to conferences, go to industry events. Pay attention to the people who are speaking, the thought leaders, the influencers.
Okay.
You never know who you might meet.
It's all about being strategic and proactive.
Yes, exactly. And it's about moving beyond that mindset that the best talent is just passively waiting to be found.
Right.
They're out there, but you might need to do a little digging to uncover them.
So instead of fishing in the same pond as everyone else,
I love that analogy.
we're casting a wider net,
Yes.
looking for those people who are already making waves.
Exactly. And remember, even if someone isn't actively looking for a new role, the right opportunity at the right time can be incredibly enticing.
It's like planting a seed.
Yes, you're sparking their curiosity.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this Sales Experts Ltd article is based on their work in the UK.
Right.
Do you think that these principles would work in other parts of the world?
That's a good question. I think that the fundamentals of human motivation and career aspirations are pretty universal. But of course, there are always cultural nuances to consider.
Right.
And you might need to adapt your approach a little bit.
So understand the local context, but the core principles are the same.
Exactly.
Okay, good. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
This brings up another question for me. Is there a risk of being unethical
Ooh.
when headhunting?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, for example, what if a company is really struggling
Yeah.
and we're poaching their employees?
Right. Well, that's a valid concern, and it's something to be really mindful of.
Okay.
I think it's important to approach headhunting ethically and responsibly.
Right.
It's not about raiding other companies
Yes.
or taking advantage of vulnerable situations.
Okay.
A good headhunter operates with integrity.
Right.
They're focused on building relationships, not burning bridges.
So even if that person says no,
Yeah.
they might remember us favorably in the future.
Exactly. Or they might refer someone else who's a good fit.
Okay.
You're playing the long game here.
I'm starting to see that headhunting done right is about more than just filling a position.
I think so too.
It's about connecting talented individuals
Yeah.
with opportunities that align with their skills and aspirations.
That's the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for everyone involved.
Okay. I think we've covered a lot of ground here.
I think so.
We've talked about expanding headhunting beyond just sales.
Uh-huh.
And we've talked about how to approach it ethically
Yes.
and effectively.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Have we missed anything crucial?
I think we've touched on all the key points.
Okay.
But I'm curious to know what's resonating with you as a listener.
Right.
What surprised you about headhunting or sparked your interest? What challenges do you see in applying these principles to your own organization?
So we've talked about all the reasons why headhunting is such a game changer and how it can be applied to lots of different roles, not just sales.
Yeah, definitely.
But now I'm really curious about the process itself.
Okay.
Like, it all seems a little mysterious.
You know, I can see why you would say that.
Yeah.
It often happens kind of behind the scenes, right?
Right.
But I think it's important to demystify it a little bit
Okay.
because it's not magic.
Right.
It's really a systematic process that involves a lot of research and strategy and building relationships.
So if we were to break down the steps to successful headhunting,
Mm-hmm.
what would that look like?
Well, it all starts with identifying the right targets, right?
Okay.
And that means really understanding the specific skills and experience that you need.
Okay. So it's not just like looking at the job description.
Yeah, you got to go deeper than that.
Right.
And you have to get a little creative
Okay.
with your search methods.
So we're not just browsing LinkedIn here.
No, no, no.
Okay.
And this might involve, going to industry events and conferences,
Mhm.
maybe even reaching out to people online whose work you really admire,
Right.
even if they're not actively looking for a new role.
Well, almost like being a detective.
Yes, exactly. You got to be a talent detective.
I love that.
So once you've identified some potential candidates,
Yeah.
the next step is crafting that outreach message.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
And this is where personalization is key.
Okay, so no generic "we're hiring" emails,
Oh, God, no, those never work.
especially with these passive candidates.
Especially with passive candidates, you need to show them that you've done your research, that you understand their work, you understand their accomplishments, and that you genuinely believe that they would be a valuable addition to your team.
So they can tell that we're not just like sending out a mass email.
Exactly.
Right.
You're interested in them specifically.
Right.
You have to highlight what makes your company and this particular opportunity unique and appealing to them.
Yeah, because they're probably happy where they are.
Exactly. So you have to give them a compelling reason to even consider a change.
Right. Okay, so we've piqued their interest.
Okay.
Now.
Well, then it's all about building a relationship.
Okay.
So you're going to have conversations, you're going to have meetings, you're going to get to know them better, understand their motivations, and assess whether there's a good fit on both sides.
So it's not just about them impressing us.
Right.
We have to impress them too.
Exactly. It's a two-way street.
Okay.
Headhunting is about finding a mutually beneficial partnership.
Right.
It's not about forcing someone into a role that they're not excited about.
It should feel good for everyone.
It should absolutely.
Okay, so let's say everything's aligned and we're ready to extend an offer.
Okay.
Is that the end of it?
You wish.
I thought that was the hard part.
Nope, onboarding is just as important,
Oh, okay.
especially with headhunted employees.
Why is that?
Because you need to make sure that they feel welcome and supported and integrated into the team.
Okay.
They've taken a risk by joining your company.
Yeah, they have.
And you want to make sure that it was the right decision.
Right. We want to set them up for success.
Exactly. You've spent all this time and effort finding this incredible person.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that they thrive.
This has been so helpful. I feel like we've really pulled back the curtain on headhunting.
I hope so. It's something that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, and it's a really powerful strategy.
Yeah, it often gets overlooked.
I think you're right.
But it can be such a game changer.
It can, especially when we're talking about building these high-performing teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it might seem intimidating at first.
Yeah, I can see that.
But as we've discussed, the potential rewards are huge.
Yeah, you can gain access to a whole pool of hidden talent.
Right.
You can reduce those costly hiring mistakes.
And build a team that delivers.
Consistently.
Yeah.
I love it. And remember, it's not just about filling a position. It's about finding the right people who can truly elevate your whole organization.
Yeah, and those people might be out there just waiting for the right opportunity. I
Exactly.
think that's a great note to end on.
I do too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into headhunting.
And until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in your careers and your organizations.